In 1965, the United States Department of Agriculture and the National PTA issued a joint advisory telling teachers to confiscate any snack from a child's lunchbox that was not store-bought, sealed, and considered safe. Your grandmother kept baking the fudge anyway, and here is the part nobody talks about. Most of the candy that fourth-grade teachers locked away in their desk drawers in 1963 was made by the same 5 American companies that food historians now credit with inventing working-class American childhood. Number 17 on this list was banned by the Akron PTA after a single newspaper panic. Number 11 was so cheap, middle-class mothers complained it was unhygienic. Number 3 was burned in the wastebasket beside a teacher's desk in 1966, while the children watched in silence. These 25 snacks were not just candy. They were the schoolyard rebellions that built a generation. Hit subscribe. What you are about to learn is not history class. It is American history. Number 25, Bazooka Joe bubblegum. The pink rectangle of hard gum wrapped in waxed paper, a folded comic strip tucked inside with the eye-patched cartoon boy, and the bad joke at the bottom. 1 penny each at Mr. Stavros's corner store on East Market Street in Akron, Ohio. In October 1963, Tommy Petrowski bought 3 pieces from his older sister's Saturday babysitting money. He carried them in his front pocket all weekend. By Monday recess, he could not wait any longer. Mrs. Iris Howard, the 4th-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary, heard the gum snap from across the room during spelling. She walked the length of the row, held her open palm in front of Tommy's face, and waited. Tommy spit the gum into her palm. Mrs. Howard walked it to the wastebasket and dropped it in. He lost the other 2 pieces the same way that week. Today, almost no American grandchild has tasted the original Bazooka Joe. Number 24, Necco wafers. The pastel chalky discs stacked in a long paper roll. Pink, purple, yellow, white, brown, green, orange, lavender, sealed with a small red foil twist. 5 cents a roll at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The oldest American candy on the shelf, made in Massachusetts since the Civil War. In April 1964, Tommy Petrowski carried a fresh roll in the right pocket of his school pants. The paper roll rustle started during arithmetic and would not stop. Mrs. Howard heard it from her desk. She did not look up from her gradebook. She only said, "Tommy, bring it here." Tommy walked the roll to the front, set it on the corner of her desk, and walked back to his seat. Mrs. Howard slid the roll into the locked top right drawer and turned the small brass key. She returned it to him on the last day of school in June. The wafers were stale. The schoolyard ritual is gone. Number 23, atomic fireballs. The cinnamon jawbreaker the size of a marble, bright candy apple red, hot enough to make a kid's eyes water by the 3rd minute. 3 for a penny at Mr. Stavros's corner store, made by the Ferrara Pan Candy Company in Forest Park, Illinois. In May 1963, Tommy Petrowski put one in his mouth on the walk back from recess. He tucked it into his cheek and tried not to breathe through his mouth. Mrs. Howard saw the red-stained tongue from 10 feet away. "Tommy," she said, "spit it out." She walked to her desk, took a brown paper towel from the stack she kept there, and handed it to him. He spit the half-dissolved fireball into it. Mrs. Howard pointed at the wastebasket. Tommy walked the wet paper towel across the room and dropped it in himself. The whole classroom watched. Today, almost no American grandchild has tasted that original Ferrara pan recipe. Number 22, wax soda bottles. The miniature wax bottles filled with bright fruit syrup, red cherry, blue raspberry, yellow lemon, green lime, sold in cellophane sleeves of 6, 15 cents a sleeve at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The kid bit the wax neck off, drank the syrup, and chewed the wax for the rest of recess. In November 1964, Mrs. Howard saw a 4th-grade boy named Daniel Kowalski biting through a green lime bottle during morning reading. A small wax shard fell onto his desk. Mrs. Howard walked over, picked up the shard between her thumb and forefinger, held it up to the class, and announced that wax candy was now banned from her classroom permanently. Tommy Petrowski had 4 wax bottles in his pocket that morning. He turned them over without being asked. Mrs. Howard locked them in the top right drawer. The wax bottle recess ritual quietly ended in Akron schools that winter. Number 21. Candy cigarettes. The small white box with red lettering, shaped like a Marlboro hardpack, holding 10 chalky white sugar sticks each with a red dot painted on the tip. 3 cents a box at Mr. Stavros's corner store, sold openly to children throughout the 1960s. In 1965, Mrs. Howard walked into her classroom one Monday and found 3 of her 4th grade boys leaning against the chalkboard pretending to smoke. She confiscated all 3 boxes on the spot. She called them indoctrination. Tommy Petrowski was one of the 3. His box had been bought with a penny he had found on the sidewalk outside Mr. Stavros's. Mrs. Howard locked all 3 boxes in her top right drawer. In 1967, she stood up at the Akron PTA quarterly meeting and asked the parents to vote candy cigarettes off school grounds entirely. The motion passed 11-4. Today, almost no American grandchild has held one. Number 20. Candy buttons on paper strips. The long white paper strips, dotted with 3 rows of pastel sugar buttons, pink, blue, yellow, running the full length of the strip. 2 cents per strip at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The kid licked the buttons off and dropped the paper. In May 1963, Mrs. Howard found 3 abandoned paper strips on the schoolyard blacktop after morning recess, sticky with saliva and dotted with leftover button stubs. She walked back into her classroom and asked which children were responsible. 3 hands went up. Tommy Petrowski's was one of them. Mrs. Howard collected all the unopened strips from her 3 students' pockets, 6 altogether, 3 of them Tommy's. She locked them in the top right drawer. She told the class that anything they dropped on the playground became school property. The candy button recess tradition is gone. Number 19. Mary Jane's. The chewy peanut butter and molasses taffy squares wrapped in yellow waxed paper twists, with the cartoon girl face printed on each end. 2 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store, made by the Charles N. Miller Company in Boston since 1914. The poor kid candy of the industrial Midwest. In March 1964, Tommy Petrowski carried a brown paper bag of 7 Mary Janes in his desk during arithmetic. He chewed one slowly with his mouth closed. Mrs. Howard saw the slow jaw movement from her desk and knew immediately what it was. "Tommy, bring the bag." Tommy set it on the corner of Mrs. Howard's desk. She did not even open it. She slid it into the top right drawer and turned the brass key. He got the bag back in June. The waxed twists had bonded to the candy. He ate them all on the bus home anyway. The Mary Jane is gone from American corner stores. Number 18. Tootsie Pops. The hard candy lollipops with a chewy chocolate Tootsie Roll center on a thin white paper-wrapped stick. 3 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store. Grape, cherry, orange, chocolate. The Indian and the star wrapper that some children believed could be redeemed for a free pop. In April 1964, a 4th grade boy named Michael Doyle was running across the playground with a Tootsie Pop stick in his teeth and slipped on wet asphalt. The wooden end poked the corner of another boy's eye. The school nurse cleaned it. The boy was fine. Mrs. Howard banned all lollipops from her classroom and the playground that same afternoon. Tommy Petrowski had 2 cherry Tootsie Pops in his desk that day. He turned both in without being asked. Mrs. Howard locked them in the top right drawer. The Tootsie Pop recess ritual ended that spring. Today, almost no American grandchild eats one at recess. Number 17. Pixy Stix. The long, thin paper straws filled with bright, sour sugar powder, cherry red, grape purple, lime green, blue raspberry. The kid tipped the straw back, tapped the bottom, and let the sour powder pour into his open mouth. 2 cents per straw at Mr. Stavros's corner store, invented by Sunline in 1952. In October 1968, the Akron Beacon Journal ran a front-page article warning that powdered candy poured from a paper straw into a child's open mouth was teaching American children to snort. It called it a public health concern. Mrs. Howard read the article that Sunday over her coffee. On Monday, she walked into her classroom, set the newspaper on her desk facing the children, and confiscated every Pixy Stix in the room. Tommy Petrowski lost 4. The Akron PTA voted to ban them from school grounds the following month. The Pixy Stix is gone. Number 16. Sugar Daddy. The big square caramel sucker on a thick paper-wrapped stick, the size of a small playing card, hard enough to crack a milk tooth. 5 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store, made by the James O. Welch Company since 1925. The candy that took the whole afternoon to finish. In 1963, Mrs. Howard confiscated 4 sugar daddies from Tommy Petrowski over the course of the school year. She hated them above all the other suckers because they could not be eaten quickly and quietly. The caramel softened in the kid's cheek. The paper stick darkened with saliva. The chewing went on through every afternoon lesson. The 4th came on a Wednesday in February 1965. Tommy was 8. He had bought it that morning with 5 pennies on the walk to school. Mrs. Howard took it from his desk during arithmetic, locked it in the top right drawer, and said nothing. He never got that one back. Number 15. Lemonheads. The small, sour, yellow, lemon-flavored candy balls, slightly bigger than a pea, packed in a small white cardboard box with bright yellow lettering. 3 cents a box at Mr. Stavros's corner store, made by Ferrara Pan in Forest Park, Illinois, beginning in 1962. In November 1964, Tommy Petrowski carried an unopened box in the right pocket of his school pants. The box rattled when he sat down after morning recess. It rattled when he stood up to sharpen his pencil. It rattled every time he shifted in the wooden chair. Mrs. Howard heard the rattle 3 times in the first 10 minutes of spelling. She walked down the row, held out her open palm, and waited. Tommy handed her the box. She slid it into the locked top right drawer. He got it back in June and ate the entire box on the bus home that afternoon. The Lemonhead recess ritual is gone. Number 14. Bonomo Turkish Taffy. The flat-striped bar of chewy taffy in vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, or banana, wrapped in waxed paper inside a bright cardboard sleeve. 5 cents a bar at Mr. Stavros's corner store. Crack it on the knee, the radio jingle said. In October 1964, a 4th-grade boy named Joey Russo brought a chocolate bar into Mrs. Howard's classroom and cracked it on his knee under his desk during social studies. The crack was sharp and hollow and unmistakable. Mrs. Howard heard it from across the room. Joey turned the broken bar in. So did the 3 boys sitting around him. Tommy Petrowski was sitting 2 rows over. He turned in his vanilla bar without being asked. Mrs. Howard locked all 4 broken bars and Tommy's unbroken vanilla bar in the top right drawer. Bonomo Turkish Taffy was discontinued in 1989. Today, almost no American grandchild has cracked one on the knee. Number 13. Razzles. The pink chewy discs that started as candy and turned into bubble gum after 30 seconds of chewing. First, you eat them, the radio jingle said, then you chew them. 2 cents a roll at Mr. Stavros's corner store, manufactured by the Fleer Corporation beginning in 1966. In September 1967, Tommy Petrowski put 3 Razzles in his mouth at once during morning reading and waited for the candy-to-gum transition. The chewing noise change halfway through, from soft sugar crunch to wet bubblegum chew, was loud enough that Mrs. Howard heard it from her desk and looked up. "Tommy, spit them out! Bring the roll!" Tommy spit the wet pink mass into a brown paper towel and walked the half-empty roll to the front. Mrs. Howard locked it in the top right drawer. He got it back in June. The Razzles candy-to-gum childhood ritual is gone. Number 12. Wax Lips. Number 12. Wax lips. The bright cherry red molded wax lips, big as a child's whole mouth, sold in cellophane bags for 10 cents at Mr. Stavros's corner store every October for Halloween. The kid bit them down over his own lips and pretended to wear them. Then he chewed the wax for the rest of recess. In late October 1966, the week of Halloween, Mrs. Howard saw 5 fourth-grade children walking back into her classroom from recess wearing the bright red wax lips. She stood at the door and held out her open palm. Each child handed her his wax lips, one by one. Tommy Petrowski's were one of the 5. He had bought them with 10 pennies the previous Saturday. Mrs. Howard locked all 5 pairs in the top right drawer. She later told another teacher in the hall that wax lips were vulgar. The Halloween wax lips ritual quietly ended in Akron public schools that fall. Number 11. Tommy's mom's homemade peanut butter fudge. The small caramel-colored squares Helen Petrowski cut from a cooled pan every other Sunday afternoon, wrapped each in a hand-cut piece of waxed paper, and packed 3 in Tommy's lunchbox on Monday mornings. The whole pan cost about $1 to make and yielded 48 squares, 3 cents per square. In February 1965, a new middle-class mother in suburban West Akron stood up at the PTA meeting and complained that homemade candy from those families was unhygienic. She did not name Helen Petrowski. She did not have to. Mrs. Howard heard the complaint from the back of the room. The next morning, she confiscated 3 squares from Tommy's lunchbox. Helen heard about it from Tommy that evening. She baked another batch the next morning anyway and packed 3 squares the following Monday. Mrs. Howard confiscated those 3 too. The homemade fudge ritual is gone. Number 10. Sky Bar. The 4-section milk chocolate bar with 4 different fillings: caramel, vanilla, peanut, and fudge. Manufactured by the Necco Company in Massachusetts since 1938. 8 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The bar that taught American children which filling they liked best. In April 1965, Tommy Petrowski sat at his desk during arithmetic trying to break a Sky Bar into its 4 sections without anyone hearing. The first snapped cleanly. The second snapped louder. The third cracked the bar across both diagonals, and the fourth fell into his lap with an audible thud. Mrs. Howard looked up from her gradebook. She did not say anything. She only pointed at her desk. Tommy walked the 4 broken sections to the front and set them on the corner of her desk. Mrs. Howard locked them in the top right drawer. The Sky Bar 4-flavor ritual is mostly gone. Number 9. Charms Sour Balls. The hard fruit-flavored sour candy balls, cherry red, lemon yellow, lime green, orange, grape purple, packed in a clear cellophane bag, sold 5 for a penny at Mr. Stavros's corner store. Manufactured by the Charms Company in Bloomfield, New Jersey since 1912. In March 1964, Tommy Petrowski carried a bag of 15 sour balls in his desk during morning reading. He reached in, and the cellophane crinkled. Mrs. Howard heard it from across the room. He froze. 2 minutes passed. He reached in again. It crinkled again. "Tommy, bring the bag." Mrs. Howard counted the sour balls into her open palm. 15, slid them back into the bag, and locked it in the top right drawer. He got it back in June. The sour balls had stuck to one another. He ate them all anyway. The corner store Charms sour ball is mostly gone. Number 8. Astro Pop. The 5-color rocket-shaped sucker on a white paper-wrapped stick. Cherry red on the bottom, orange in the middle, pineapple yellow at the top, with a blunt point. 5 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store, manufactured by the Spangler Candy Company since 1963, the rocket-age candy of the American space race. In April 1964, the same week Mrs. Howard banned Tootsie Pops from her classroom after the playground stick poke incident. Tommy Petrowski walked in with a fresh Astro Pop sticking out of the front pocket of his school pants. He had bought it that morning with 5 pennies from his older sister's babysitting change. Mrs. Howard saw the orange pineapple yellow tip from the door. She held out her open palm without a word. Tommy handed it over. She locked it in the top right drawer. The Astro Pop was discontinued in 2004. The rocket age schoolyard ritual is gone. Number 7. Now and later. The long, thin packet of 6 chewy fruit chews, wrapped in foil-lined paper. Cherry, grape, watermelon, orange, lemon, apple. 2 cents per packet at Mr. Stavros's corner store. Manufactured by the Phoenix Candy Company in Brooklyn beginning in 1962. Some now, the wrapper said, some later. In May 1965, Tommy Petrowski reached into the right pocket of his school pants during arithmetic, got his fingers around a fresh packet of grape, and tried to open the foil paper without making a sound. The wrapper crinkled. He froze. He tried again. It crinkled again, louder. Mrs. Howard heard it from her desk. "Tommy, bring it here." Tommy walked the unopened packet to the front and set it on the corner of her desk. Mrs. Howard slid it into the locked top right drawer without opening it. He got it back in June. The now and later recess ritual is gone. Number 6. Lake M. Aid Fun Dip. The small paper packet of bright sour sugar powder, cherry red, grape purple, lime green, with a hard white sugar dipping stick included inside. 3 cents per packet at Mr. Stavros's corner store, manufactured by Sunline beginning in 1942. The kid licked the stick, dipped it in the powder, and licked it clean. In 1966, Tommy Petrowski opened a cherry red packet at his desk during morning reading and spilled half the sour sugar powder across the wood. Mrs. Howard saw the bright red sugar dust from across the classroom. She walked the length of the row, held out her open palm for the half-empty packet and the dipping stick, and confiscated both. The 1968 Akron Beacon Journal powdered candy panic added a second permanent reason for the ban. Mrs. Howard locked Tommy's packet in the top right drawer. The corner store fun dip ritual is gone. Number 5. Mr. Goodbar. The small Hershey peanut milk chocolate bar in the bright yellow paper wrapper with the red Cartoon Man logo, manufactured in Hershey, Pennsylvania since 1925. 3 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The bar with the loudest peanut smell in the candy aisle. In October 1967, Tommy Petrowski opened one at his desk during arithmetic, and the smell of warm peanut and cocoa drifted across 3 rows of children. Mrs. Howard smelled it from her desk. She did not look up. She only said, "Tommy, bring it here." Tommy carried the half-eaten bar to the front. Mrs. Howard wrapped it in a fresh sheet of waxed paper from the small roll she kept in her desk and locked it in the top right drawer. That spring, she told another teacher she was beginning to worry about a child being allergic to the peanuts. The Mr. Goodbar recess ritual is mostly gone. Number 4. Marathon Bar. The long braided rope of milk chocolate-covered caramel in the bright red foil wrapper, 8 inches end to end, manufactured by the Mars Candy Company. 8 cents a piece at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The bar that took longer to eat than anything else on the rack. In November 1968, Tommy Petrowski carried a fresh marathon in the inside pocket of his denim school jacket, hung on the hook in the back of the classroom. Mrs. Howard saw the long red foil shape sticking out and walked back to the coat hooks during morning reading. She removed the bar without a word. She walked back to her desk, holding the long braided red foil bar in front of her like a ruler. She called it the rope candy when she set it down. She locked it in the top right drawer. She confiscated 3 marathon bars that month alone. The Mars Marathon Bar was discontinued in 1981. Number 3. The pink sugar heart candy with Be Mine printed on it. The Necco Sweethearts Conversation Hearts. Small pastel sugar hearts with short red printed messages. Sold in white cardboard boxes for 5 cents at Mr. Stavros's corner store every February for Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day morning, 1966, Tommy Petrowski reached across the aisle and put 1 pink heart printed Be Mine on the corner of Sarah O'Reilly's wooden desk. Mrs. Howard saw the exchange and asked Tommy to bring her the entire box. She did not lock it in the drawer. She walked the box to the wire wastebasket beside her desk, took a wooden kitchen match from the tin on her desk, struck it, and dropped the burning match on top. The pink sugar caught fire and burned for almost a full minute. The smell of burnt sugar hung in the classroom for 2 days. Mrs. Howard told Tommy in front of the class that he was forbidden to give candy to any other student for the rest of the year. Sarah O'Reilly cried at her desk and would not look up. The Valentine's Day classroom candy ritual quietly ended in Akron public schools that spring. Number 2. Pop Rocks. The new candy from General Foods, just released in 1965. Small red sugar crystals in a foil packet that fizzed and popped on the tongue from the carbon dioxide bubbles trapped inside. 4 cents per packet at Mr. Stavros's corner store. The first candy in American history to make noise after you ate it. In October 1965, the third week the packets reached the rack at Mr. Stavros's, 3 of Mrs. Howard's 4th graders opened red packets at the same time during a Friday spelling test. The crackling, popping noise filled the classroom for almost a full minute. Mrs. Howard banned Pop Rocks that afternoon. Tommy lost 2 packets the following Monday. The famous 1979 rumor that the child actor Mikey had died from drinking a Coca-Cola after eating Pop Rocks came 14 years later. Mrs. Howard had banned the candy long before any American mother heard the rumor. The Pop Rocks recess ritual is mostly gone. Number 1. The last confiscated candy in Mrs. Howard's drawer. A single sugar daddy caramel sucker on a paper-wrapped stick, taken from Tommy Petrowski on February 3, 1965 for talking during arithmetic. Wrapped in a brown paper square cut from a Mr. Stavros's grocery bag, with Tommy P. 4th grade 2/3/65 written across it in Mrs. Howard's careful pencil hand. She meant to return it in June. She forgot. The brown paper square slid to the back of the drawer and stayed there. She retired in 1968 and died unmarried at 77. In 1992, when the principal cleaned out her desk, he found 3 full drawers of unreturned candy from the early 60s. At the very back was the brown paper square in faded pencil. Inside was a single hard caramel sugar daddy on a darkened stick. The candy was 27 years old. Tommy was 38, working second shift at a Cleveland steel mill. The news reached him through his older sister. The week after, he drove down Interstate 77 and asked the principal to let him stand in the empty 4th grade classroom for 10 minutes. He did not take the sugar daddy. He looked at the row where his old desk had been, then drove home. The principal donated the sugar daddy to the Akron Public Schools History Archive, where it is preserved today behind glass, the last visible artifact of Mrs. Howard's locked drawer of confiscated working-class American childhood. When Tommy thinks about Mrs. Howard now, he does not remember her as cruel. He remembers the careful pencil hand on the brown paper square, that she meant to give the candy back and waited for June. These were not just confiscated candies. They were the small rebellions of working-class American children. The penny in the pocket, the wax paper crinkle, the homemade fudge baked by a mother who would not stop baking it. Here is my challenge. Buy one of these this week, just one. The Mary Jane, the Necco wafer, the atomic fireball. Eat it slowly the way an 8-year-old in 1963 would have. I want to know, does the Pixy Stix get more love than the Burned Sweethearts box? Tell me below. If you have a grandparent who carried penny candy in a denim school pocket, call them tonight. The window is smaller than any of us would like to believe. These were not just candies. They were childhood, locked in a drawer.